You're listening to Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official podcast of Lingerie Fighting Championships. And now, here's your host, Michael Larkin.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today is someone who has become such a fast, integral part of LFC, from her tenure as referee to fighter, and just all around great moments and memories, much like each and every one does in this LFC presentation of the one and the only Miss Sarah the Rebel Wolfe. Sarah, it's a pleasure and a privilege. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I gotta say, my goodness gracious. Let's talk about this first and foremost. When it comes to LFC, we've been to Bratislava. We've been in the home base of Las Vegas, Nevada. Now we are going to the UK for LFC 43. It's Independence Day and LFC 44 going into Cardiff, Wales. Now you are going to be a part of these fine events, that being the one in Cardiff, Wales against Gypsy Mac, who we've seen on the LFC front and the Sturgis events, as well as the FSW Arena for Future Stars Wrestling outside of the LFC auspices. Such a great competitor, such a great contender in the LFC rankings. How excited are you for the UK tour?
Oh, I'm definitely excited, especially to work with Gypsy. You know, I worked with her when she was much more green in the scene, and seeing how she's developed and just gotten better and better and better and worked on improving herself. She's going to be a tough one to beat, honestly. And I'm really excited. Like I said, we last touched when she was much newer to the scene. And now I want to see, well, what's it like wrestling this like Gypsy 2.0? That's what I'm excited about.
I like your style. I like how you put that Gypsy 2.0. You know, the great Fleetwood Mac once sang, "You see your Gypsy," and I think that really much applies to what we see with Gypsy Mac now. I gotta.
Is that where her name came from?
It could. Hey, hey now. I mean, come on now. When it looks like something like a Fleetwood Mac, I mean, this is the same girl. And I had her on the show years ago. I always thought it was hilarious. Like, her cat was named Atticus, like To Kill a Mockingbird. Hello, Atticus Finch, and everything that goes into the fine literatures that we've had. I love that. And I mean, I look at someone like Gypsy Mac. I mean, she's shredded. She's doing her thing, really applying her craft in amazing fashion. She's definitely one to look out for those who have not checked her out on the Instagram front. My God, she's really the rising star that she is now, right?
Definitely.
Absolutely. And I will say this as well. When it comes to a lot of great competitors that we see, you, my friend, I wanted to ask you as well, because starting from the referee, I remember seeing you at LFC 31 Booty Camp Do. Now, this was during the pandemic era, early 2021. Then we fast forward to 2023. We got you at LFC 37 back to the mansion as only as we could do, with so many great bouts on that event. Talk about the referee side of things, because we go from 2021, where there's hardly any people. This world that we live in is crazy and things are going rough, but at the same time, LFC is providing us with that escape, that entertainment. And then fast forward to the LFC 37 event. Talk about the referee side of things.
I really loved being a referee for the LFC. So for anyone who doesn't know my journey, I was wrestling, I was with WOW, I was with OVW, I was doing all these things, but unfortunately, I've dealt with a lot of injuries. And so when I retired from wrestling, and I was exploring every other avenue of being a part of the wrestling world without wrestling that I could. So I've done commentary, I've done ring announcing, I've done everything you can do. And then I was also doing refereeing. So I've actually been an active part of like all of the pieces that make wrestling come together. I have given them a try, you know, from doing ring crew back in the days to even sometimes helping with being the person who hit the music button, right? So refereeing for me was just another aspect of wrestling. And what I think makes a good referee is when you have had enough wrestling training that you know, you can kind of predict what's about to happen, right? So that's a difference I see with referees who do not have wrestling training versus referees who have wrestling training is, you know, when you pick someone up for a move, where is that person hypothetically going to land so that you can get there? And in wrestling, we do the count, right, with the shoulders down. But in LFC, we don't do the count. It's all about pins and knockouts and all these other things. But you kind of need to know where a movement is going to end up so that you can be there, not just for the counts, but also for the safety of the wrestlers. And so for me, it was a nice, fun challenge and a great way to still be a part of the wrestling world.
First and foremost, I always look at it like the two S's, safe and spectacular, applying your craft in safe fashion, do it in spectacular fashion as well. I think that's a great point. I mean, you think of the great referees that have that characters like the early days of the dangerous Danny Davises. And I mean, even like your Charles Robinson's, Little Natches, and Nick Patrick's and everything that goes into that form. Everybody has such an integral role within the presentation of professional wrestling, one of the greatest art forms out there. And I mean, you mentioned Wow Women of Wrestling. I would not be remiss if I didn't mention this. You, Fury, Mesmeriah, one of my favorite parts, I got to put this over, Wow Women of Wrestling, David McLean's promotion. I loved it. Your promos, it was fierce. And I've always said, not only do you have a great aesthetic with your hair and everything that goes within that character, you really lived up to it. Some of my favorite promos on that show were from the Psycho Sisters, man.
Thank you. You know, that's where I really felt like I had a home and I had a place in wrestling was at WoW, because that was the kind of wrestling I always wanted to do. The more old school throwback to where promos matter, a manager mattered. Like a lot of that doesn't matter in normal wrestling nowadays. In WWE, it's all about athleticism and the competition. I'm like, yeah, that is one aspect of wrestling, but the other aspect of wrestling is the pageantry of it all, the stories and making you feel something in your heart. Like when I watch someone have a fight, if I don't care about either fighter, then I'm just watching a fight. Who cares? But when you actually have skin in the game, when you actually care, when they've given you a reason to want them to win or to lose, to me, that's so powerful. And that was always my favorite part of wrestling. And that's where I felt most powerful in wrestling, is I know I can make you hate me or I can make you love me. And I have that power over you. And so that was my favorite part of working with WoW.
I think what the great part about it too, as well, to add on to your point, I've always loved the larger than life characters. And I mean, if you even look at the early days when David McLean had Glow, you had the Hollywood and Vines, you had even Ivory when she was Tina Ferrari and everything that went into that. And we have so many people that really have that larger than life basis. The promo, the build up to the story that even gets to it, there's so many integral parts. You mean, look at Roddy Piper when he was Rowdy before Rowdy was cool, and stuff that we saw in the 80s that really led up to, the war to settle the score and stuff like that. I mean, even when you had Cyndi Lauper and her girl Wendy Richter going against the Fabulous Moolah and everything that transpired there, it's everything from that buildup that makes you invest. It's all about evoking emotions and eliciting reactions. And you, and I include you definitely in these sentiments, certainly did that. And also it was a different look from what we get to see, from the different layers of what we get to see of what we have seen more of women over the years, from the blondes, the blue eyes, and everything that goes into it. There's a lot of beautiful and pretty ladies, including yourself. But God dang it, man, you stuck out from the pack, and that's what it's about, uniqueness and just overall standing out. You certainly did that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I got to say, folks, when you look at professional wrestling and you think of LFC, it's a little bit of MMA, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of clothing, and real deal sex appeals, much like my guest here. Let's put this into the forefront, man. Cosplaying, LFC 38, Angels and Little Devils. My God, the Harley Quinn aspect against the Poison Ivy, that was Jenny Bloody Valentine. Y'all went to a straight up draw. It was straight up wrestling. It was straight up power. It was straight up awesomeness. And I got to say, man, hell of a matchup between the two. Talk about working with Jenny, one of my favorite bouts on that card.
I will tell you, in the DC universe, it's getting a little weird. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy kind of a bit of a thing I've been seeing in later comics. So
you don't say.
In here it might be all fisticuffs, but you never know what you're gonna see.
Might be time for me to give comics a chance. You know what I mean? It hasn't really been my thing, but I'm always open to new concepts. Oh.
One that was a face strike, and you knocked the wig off.
Know that things were supposed to happen like this. Harley Quinn probably not going to be really excited about losing her wig at this point. Dropped off with the coat. Oh my goodness, she is not happy. Jumped in the mount, wailing away. Big strikes from the top, and we said maybe a little psycho.
So that was really fun for me, because a lot of the inspiration for my WoW character Razor was Harley Quinn and Nancy from The Craft, and things like that really incorporate into the character. So when I found out that there was going to be this cosplay aspect to LFC, I was like, well, I want to be Harley Quinn, because that's that's kind of who I am on the inside. If I was allowed as a real person to carry a hammer and beat people over the head with a giant mallet, I would. So it was kind of a no-brainer that I would be Harley Quinn. And then, so I know Jenny from my own company that I also run on the side called Pandemic Pro Wrestling. And So when I found out I'd be wrestling Jenny, and then I found out that Jenny would be Poison Ivy, I was really intrigued and excited because for anyone who reads the comics, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn are we're in a relationship. I don't know where they are now, actually. This was like a few years ago or a year ago. I can't remember when I was reading it. But they were in a relationship, and then they were dating in the cartoon as well. So I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to play with that. But there's one thing about Jenny Valentine is that Jenny does not play nice, and she is going to give you 110% when you wrestle her. There's no holds barred. She doesn't care if you're her friend. You could be her sister. It doesn't matter. When she gets in the ring, it's like a switch goes off, and all she thinks about is winning. And I really think that's why that ended up being a tie, because like she didn't hold anything back, so I didn't hold anything back. And that's how we ended up with like just this back and forth, just each of us trying to pull out all the stops of our strongest, hardest hitting moves. Like I was in so much pain in that match. Like she was hurting me for real. I earned that kiss at the end.
I gotta say, from the suplexes, the body slams, and she really nailed you in it. My God, I mean, I will say this, like you mentioned, to add on to your point, Jenny's probably one of the toughest sons of guns I've seen. And I mean, from her work and being in WWE's developmental system to what she's done with Women's Athletes on Fire, and what we really get to see now with what she does, such a great entrepreneurial, such a great mind for the professional wrestling business. And I mean, I certainly do also agree that you definitely earned that kiss. But my God, y'all did not hold back, and that sometimes makes some for one of the best moments in LFC. So kudos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it is, yes, we know each other and we're friends and we care about each other, for those of us who do. Some people hate each other, right? But me, generally, almost every woman I meet, I'm a girl's girl. I'm on her side. But when we step into the ring, it's how could I describe it? It's like, this doesn't count. This isn't part of our relationship. Like, we're in a free space here, and you're going to hit me and I'm going to hit you, and I'm going to try to put you down. And that's kind of, and then when we leave, like, it's all forgiven. That what happened in the ring is not like, does not affect our relationship in any way. But I will try to destroy you while I'm in the ring. And Jenny is the same way. And yeah, so as you said, that was a hard hitting match, because each of us were like, oh, okay.
I'm going to put it to the testament here, because I'll take everybody back 23 years ago. It's one of my favorite stories to get to this match. It's like Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Like Shawn Michaels and Triple H can have this non-sanctioned match at SummerSlam 2002. Triple H can hit him in the back with the sledgehammer and tell that story for when Shawn comes back to lead to their Survivor Series and Armageddon matches. But god dang it, man, they can do some of the most heinous stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all love and respect for the mutual respect that they have in their friendship and bond. So, I mean, you can kind of equate it to like the Triple H and Shawn Michaels, but you're not saying suck it at the end of the day. You're kissing at the end, if that makes sense.
Right. We kind of said suck it, but with our mouth.
I like that. I like that. And I mean, another thing that I do have to put over here, because Las Vegas 2 nights featured LFC 40 as well as LFC 41. I had Bella Madison on the show, and the way we have also described it is this, because god dang it, man, you started off with the twerkage. Let's not even fight. Let's twerk. Y'all twerkage. You led her into a suplex, which was one of my favorite subtleties, intricacies, and nuances of that bout. But then we get to the next round, and I'll put it to the forefront. I'll say it to, like I said to Bella Madison, and I'll say to you, Miss Wolfe, you Triple H'd her, blowing that water right into her face. You spit it into her face, and my goodness gracious, it was the ultimate but I loved every second of it. You came out looking everything from America, like the Captain America type vibes and the red, white, and blue and everything. Great aesthetic, and I loved that match, man. Really one of Bella's integral parts of her rises as well. Same with yours.
But I tell you what, Madison still over there talking with Coach Kane about that broken title over there, and she seems a little frustrated. She's got to get her head in the game here quick.
I think that the champion should be the best twerker. And wait a second. Clearly.
Might be a foul hard.
Oh, she baited her into the twerk off. Look at this.
I was going to say she was winning the twerk off.
She was.
But she gave up the holy cow.
Devastating suplex there from Sarah Wolfe. Gamesmanship. Tough to say. They were both in a lot of pain right there. And, man, third round. Oh, my goodness. Sarah Wolfe, the rebel indeed. She's been pulling out all the tricks tonight.
Yes, indeed.
Spitting the water there to start, but Madison just lifts her in the air. Oh,
big slam.
Big spine buster to the ground.
Yes, so Bella, I know she has experience, but not quite as much experience as I had. So I knew if I could just trick her, I could get that win. And so that was kind of like my goal the whole time, because to be perfectly honest with you, she's bigger than me, and I'm pretty sure she's stronger than me. To just be 100% blunt, like, she looks bigger and stronger than me. So I'm like, okay, well, I know she's not as crafty as me. I know she's not going to be prepared for the things that I'm going to pull out on her. And it worked. And like each time I thought of something, it worked. So like, you can't blame me for trying. I was like, oh, I could lure her into this twerk so easily. And she's going to be so focused on the twerk that she's not going to be having the power to fight me on the suplex. Because to be perfectly honest with you, if I just went for a suplex on a woman of Bella's strength and size, it probably wouldn't work. I wouldn't be able to actually lift them in that moment. But she has all her weight in her toes because she's twerking. So there's a reason for everything that I do. The spitting the water in the face. How could she predict? Could you predict? Did you know I was about to? No, nobody could predict that. So I am going to pat myself on the back for that and just say, like, that was very purposeful going in. I knew with an opponent that's bigger than me and stronger than me, I have to be smarter than them. And that was the goal. And yes, I didn't get the win in the end, but I think I could have.
I mean, let's say this right now. With Bella Madison being the LFC Booty Camp champion, I got to say there's definitely a rematch we definitely have to see between the Wolf and the Goddess of Chaos, Miss Bella Madison. I mean, let's put this in the forefront as well. There is a method to your madness, to put it in the bluntest of terms. There actually is, because, I mean, if you even carry over to your bout with Bella Inc., you're just like, all right, I thought this was, lingerie fighting championship, not nudie championship.
She's naked. That was not lingerie. There was no lingerie on her body.
All right, we're going to bring this up because I died laughing because somebody had to say it, and Sarah Wolfe said it, and I love Bella Inc., just for the record. But here's the thing. Every time we see her bouts, it's always breastises and pasties galore. We've seen it on the last few bouts that she's had with the Veronica Valentines, the Jolene Hexes, and everything that we've seen on the LFC auspices. So you did make a great point. Let's put that into the forefront because it's always breastises and pasties. I get it. Same with Brandy May before that. I get it. But yes, no, you were very vocal about this. This is not lingerie nudie championship.
I was told, come do this lingerie wrestling, and here is a naked woman in the ring with me. And I'm like, where is her lingerie? Just curious. Did it get lost? Did you put it out for dry cleaning? Nope. Just, okay, that's fine. You're going to touch me with that. Okay, cool. And the fact that she did a bear hug to me while she... Come on, that was just mean. That was just cruelty on her part.
Oh my goodness. Sometimes
her sweaty skin, her sweaty, glittery skin sticking to mine.
I gotta say, when it comes to LFC, you do get the rest of luck and you get the assets all up in there. But I gotta say, you two had a great bout that resulted in Bella Inc. becoming LFC champion. Great bout between the two. I gotta say,
I gotta change my name to Bella real quick because clearly there is a bias for people named Bella. So I'm going to be. I know there's already some other Bella, but I'm going to be Bella Wolfe now. Just know, new name.
Just for the record, there is three. Yes, there is three Bellas.
I know there's three Bellas, so I'm fourth Bella. I'm Bella Wolfe now. I will win. I will become the champion now that I've changed my name to Bella.
That actually does sound pretty badass. Bella Wolfe, BW, and the place to be. I like your style. Okay, fair enough.
If there's trouble, just call BW. Bella Wolfe.
Yeah, you see
the song.
All right. There you go. Perfect.
Ladies, let's have a nice clean fight. No standing strikes to the face. Touch glove if you like.
I'm all good. I didn't know this was the nudity fighting championship. Please get those naked body. That is disgusting. How did you see my buttons? I try not to look.
Look at this. Sarah Wolfe a little bit distracted by the pasties, it would seem, and Bella Inc. uses that to her advantage right away here at the start. Sarah Wolfe is disgusted by the rest of Bella Inc., and I just have to say, I disagree. I cannot relate.
Yes. So with that being said, the theme song, all in all, I got to say, from the 3 bouts that you've had, definitely lived up to the hype, and I cannot wait to see what you do with Gypsy Mac. But I mean, also at the same time, too, you do mention protein wrestling and everything that goes into it with your company. Let's put this into the forefront. We always talk about, like, the term, you hear it so much, very synonymous, the jack of all trades. You're kind of like a Jill of all trades. You dip your toe into a lot of things, from refereeing, commentating, everything that goes into your professional wrestling company and everything. Let's talk about that, because I've seen a lot of the LFC girls have been a part of that as well. So you get to have a nice little mix of what we get to see in the LFC world as well as what you're doing. So talk about your company, man, because I've seen some of the customs, I've seen the vids. It's really quality content, Sarah.
Yeah, so when the pandemic happened, I was out in Vegas because I had actually been hired to work at a show here in Vegas called the Atomic Saloon Show. They wanted wrestling to be a part of the show, but they didn't really understand what wrestling was, and it wasn't working out. The other girl on the show actually ended up like dislocating her pelvis on one of the stunts because they really like wouldn't listen to us about what we needed to do our job, right? To do a weekly wrestling show, you need certain things, and they just couldn't comprehend it, and so it didn't work out. So I'm there. The pandemic happens. I'm now stranded in Vegas. I have no wrestling lined up because we can't go out anywhere and wrestle. And so no money coming in. And the whole reason I moved out to Vegas, they also like canceled it because even when they brought the show back, they had to take out everything in the show that involved going out into the audience, which was my role as well. So it's this whole thing. And I get a call from Heather Monroe. And she's a wrestler in the indie scene, for anyone who doesn't know, really awesome. And she says, "Hey, Sarah, somebody had an idea for how we could make money right now. And what we really need is somebody with the type A personality to deal with the customers. And so we thought of you." And I was like, okay. And so they all came out and we gathered a bunch of people and we had our first custom wrestling shoot. And it went so well that I did another. And then I created my company, Pandemic Pro Wrestling, named after the pandemic, which was the whole reason that we had the Pandemic Pro Wrestling. And so, yeah, it's been running for about 5 years now. And it has been an awesome way to meet other women. Like you said, some women, you know, there has been some crossover as well, because that's how Jenny and I ended up getting much closer. Although we had known each other from the indie scene and from other custom companies, like now we were working together a lot more. And it has been so rewarding to me as a wrestler to have a wrestling company, because there are a lot of problems in the wrestling world. And one of the biggest ones being that a lot of promoters like to not pay what we're worth. They don't want to pay. They'll give you a hot dog and a handshake. When the first time that happened to me, I even had gotten injured in the match and I went to go get my money and the guy was like, "Oh no, you were on the pre-show. You don't get paid. But you can have as many hot dogs and nachos and cheese as you want. Thanks for coming." And I was like, so I did have 3 hot dogs and I covered them in nacho cheese because screw that guy. But like, that's kind of the norm in wrestling, is everyone's very carny. They don't want to pay you. They want to trick you any way they can out of money. They don't respect. It takes an hour to do this makeup. It takes hours to train every week. It takes hours of pain afterwards as you deal with your injuries or just the soreness of your body after you have a bout. And nobody seems to feel like that's worth money. And so running my own company where I get to pay people, and I pay them properly and I pay them fairly, and I check in that they feel that this is the right amount of money. And if they tell me I want more money for something, I get them more money for that. Being able to do that healed something inside of me. So like all the bitterness and anger I had towards how mistreated wrestlers are in the wrestling industry, I got to actually take this one little small space in this world where I treat people fairly and I get to do nice things for them. And that like brings me, I know that doesn't really fit with this evil character you probably think of me as for being Razor or Wow, but the truth is, like, I want people to like love something and get paid for the thing that they love. And being allowed to do that with Pandemic Pro Wrestling has just been the most rewarding part of my whole wrestling career.
I will be putting the social medias for Pandemic Pro Wrestling under this fine interview so y'all can check it out, because it's definitely worth it. And I think everything that you get to see from your promotion, like, again, getting people through the hard times of the pandemic, apropos the Pandemic Pro Wrestling, but that's really true in professional wrestling. Unfortunately, we do see the carny side of things, and I think you being a guiding light, as well as kind of like the united, not divided front, bringing women together and showcasing, dare I say, the best representation of your presentation, representing yourself well, presenting yourself well, really goes a long way. And I think that's kind of a beacon of light of what we get to see with wrestling promoters and promotions as well, because it's great to have another healthy mix of another professional wrestling company, but with someone who has that astute and work ethic and work acumen, really goes a long way, and it really uplifts a lot of the women.
I agree. And it's nice. Some of the money they can make doing custom wrestling pays for the gas they had to spend to drive 8 hours to go wrestle at this other show. You know what I mean? So it's all like part of a healthy ecosystem, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of hate, just like there's hate towards the LFC, there's hate towards custom wrestling. But I can't hate it because I'm just like, this is something where everyone's having fun and we're all agreeing to the things that we're doing. Like there's no trickery, there's no last minute things being sprung on anybody. And like, to me, that's the goal, is to give something good back into this wrestling community.
Yeah, to say you're pulling on my heartstrings a little bit with that.
I do that.
I mean, I look at it like this, man. It's one of those things too where, and I like how you also brought up the comparison, because it's like people hate because people are going to hate. You know, haters going to hate, players going to play, to quote 3LW. I look at it like this, man. We have so many people out here that'll criticize Custom Wrestling LFC. For me, and this is my personal opinion, but my mindset that also goes into this podcast, we all have our different preferences. We all like what we like. There's something for everybody. There's a nice variety and blend for everybody in today's society. And at the end of the day, everything is an art form. And one of my favorite quotes is, life is an art form. We're all applying our crafts. So it's all about applying your craft in amazing fashion. But what you ladies are doing, much like everything that we see in LFC and everything all around in all facets of life, we're all painting our canvases. It may not be your masterpiece, but it is someone else's masterpiece. So that's how you have to look at it. It's all different art forms, and it all works in many different ways with how people gravitate towards it.
I 100% agree. I think one of the funniest things about gatekeeping in wrestling, I'm like, in wrestling, we're gatekeeping in wrestling, the thing where we dress up in silly costumes and hit our friends. Like, this is where we're going to choose to gatekeep. There is something for everyone, and there is a place for everyone in wrestling. You love wrestling, but you can't physically wrestle. You tried to go to training and it didn't work out for you. Okay, you can be the sound guy. You can be the referee. You can be the announcer. You can be the person who puts the seats out and makes sure that everybody knows where they're sitting at the show. You could be the person selling the hot dogs at the show. There is a place for everyone in wrestling, and there is a place for everything in wrestling. And that taste of, like, some people like the Jungle Boy, some people like the more natural style, some people like New Japan strong style, some people prefer wrestling not to have any storyline, some people only like wrestling if there's storylines. Like, you're right, it's an art and there's room in it for everything and everybody. And so that's one of the things that I've always loved about wrestling.
I think in today's day and age, tribalism is the worst mother effing thing in professional wrestling, because it's like, okay, I could watch, for example, the buildup that we're getting now with Paul Heyman and his new dangerous alliance with Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. And also we got the stuff going against CM Punk, Sami Zayn, and Roman Reigns and whatnot. But it's like, okay, I could also go over to New Japan and watch Wrestle Kingdom and see Zack Sabre Jr., one of the best doggone technical wrestlers out there, against a young man like Shota Umino, who's worked his way up the New Japan rankings for 40 minutes. There's something for everybody, much like we've seen back in the day. You can watch Crockett and NWA, and you can watch the likes of like the Alundra Blazes, Medusa against Sherry Martel, or you can go over to the WWF and you can watch Fabulous Moolah and Wendy Richter. There's something for everybody, and at the end of the day, I mean, we hear it in today's day and age now, don't yuck anyone's yum. If you're liking something, just enjoy it, take it in, because at the end of the day, you may not know who someone might get into it. You can tell a friend, tell a phone, tell a wrestler, but at the end of the day, too, as long as you're bringing eyes to the product, that's the main thing.
That's true. Hey, fun Sarah fact about New Japan. Did you know that I was in the first New Japan LA class that they did?
Okay, now, first of all, let's talk about this because, all right, since you brought this up, I do have to ask, because I've seen a lot of people in the New Japan LA class. How doggone tough is that, man? Because you have
the toughest thing I ever did in my life.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I don't think a lot of people realize like the training that goes into it, both US and Japan as well as international side. That's what I've always admired about the strong style of it. I mean, you could look at British strong style and everything, but it's no joke. Y'all are really just like pedal to the metal with that. I've always enjoyed the style. Even I remember as a kid, I'll take everybody back to this, like FYE, it was still around doing its thing. Like, I remember like going to like the sports section, you could see different sports, and wrestling was over there. I remember seeing like there was a tape of like All Japan Pro Wrestling and all like the women's like death matches and just like the blood, the Crimson Mask, if you will, on women. There's so many different styles on there. Like, Japan is like no joke, and I've always admired just the different style that it brings, because it's really performance based and hard hitting at the same time.
Yeah, no. So even at that time, I wasn't even a wrestler. I was a manager.
Okay.
And the first day, I thought to myself, why did they say yes and accept me into this school. First of all, I'm the only woman here. Second of all, I'm the only non-wrestler here. Third of all, I want to die. Like, I was also sick. But the funniest thing that happened was afterwards, I got a lot of props from the guys because, this was before COVID. So nobody minded that I had all these tissues stuffed in my nose and I'm like spending a week in close quarters with everybody, just trying to survive. But the guys would tell me afterwards that sometimes, we'd have to do like 400 squats. And they said they'd look over and they'd see my little self with my tissues in my nose still doing the squats. And they said, well, I can't stop. I can't stop before she stops or I'm a pussy. So I helped the guys keep going when they wanted to quit because you can't be weaker than the girl with the flu. So, but it was an amazing experience. I had never wanted to wrestle in Japan. I had a lot of friends when I first started wrestling. We're like, when are you going to go to Japan and work in Kirk and Hall? I was like, never, ever, ever. Like that style of wrestling does not appeal to me at all. And so going through the week of training with New Japan, I got a lot of awesome things out of it because I'm also a writer. And so I ended up writing for their website for a little while and I got to work events with them sometimes before I moved to Vegas. But so I got something out of it. But while I was in there, I was just like, oh, yes, this really confirms with me that I don't want to do this. But there was a female trainer there. I can't remember her actual wrestling name right now because we just called her Mimi-san. But I wish I could remember her name. I may have to send it to you afterwards. But she's a Japanese wrestler who came over and got very big in Mexico. And they brought her, one, because they had a female student there, but two, because she could speak Spanish. And so there was another luchador there who could speak English and Spanish. So he would speak Spanish to her and she would translate from Spanish to Japanese, and that's kind of how we all communicated. So she said to me one time I was doing something, she was like, I admire your heart. You have the strongest heart here. And that stuck with me all through my wrestling career. Anytime I wanted to give up, anytime the pain was too intense, I would just remember her saying you have the strongest heart here. And I would think that to myself and I'd be like, yeah, I'm not giving up. I'm not quitting. I'm not tapping out. I have the strongest heart here. So the New Japan School, even though I didn't get anything out of it wrestling wise, what I got out of it emotionally and mentally was totally invaluable.
Oh, agreed. I think everything in life is a learning experience, and that's how we grow and adapt within our characters and our overall beings. And I mean, you mentioned the role of the manager. I mean, you could be like the Miss Elizabeths and so many managers that we've seen. And I mean, there's so many things that go into it. I mean, the manager is one of the integral parts that really heightens up the superstar and everything that we get to see with the presentation. And I think a lot of people don't realize, just even in today's day now and age with how this generation has grown up, they don't even realize the importance of how the managerial role is. I mean, we see the Paul Heyman still doing his thing, but it's great to see just the importance of managers and as a whole, because that really sets the tone for where the trajectory and the journey of the superstar is going and what we get to see in the early stages.
Mima Shimoda, I think is her name actually, now that yes. But yeah, I agree with you completely about managers, because if managers were more respected, I would probably still be on the indie wrestling scene, because I loved being a manager more than I loved being a wrestler. I loved elevating my wrestler, communicating, manipulating the audience for my wrestler. That was much more enjoyable to me than the actual physical part of wrestling. And I tried to do it for a little while, but what would happen is anywhere I went, they would book me to wrestle without telling me. They would be like, yes, come as a manager, or yeah, come and do announcing, or come and do, and then next thing I know, they're like, hey, another girl couldn't make it. You have to wrestle now. And I'd be like, what? So, or I'd go there and I would manage, but of course they don't want to pay a manager. So I could only really manage people I was dating, because then at least okay, we're already together, we're going somewhere. And so it doesn't matter that I'm not being paid, because I have the transportation there and I have the transportation home. And I would go anyway to see you wrestle, but I really wanted to manage more women. And so I got to do that in WOW, which was awesome. And I got to do it once at this awesome show called, I think it's called Glam up in Oakland. I'm not sure if they're still running because this was pre-pandemic, but I got to manage a wrestler named Viperous. And we loved it. Both Viperous and I were like, oh, I wish we could do this every time. But nobody respects managers, so nobody would book us as her and her manager.
That just is still so mind-boggling to me. I don't understand that type of vibes. And I mean, I look at it in today's day and age. I mean, all right, and we'll put it out here just because he's from California. The Dave Meltzers of the world, where we talked about the performance and everything, they focus more on the quality and the 5 stars and all that. But I'm just like the managerial role, the promos and everything. Like that's what really sells people in the tickets. That's what brings people to the town, and that's what that talks people into the building. And I mean, stuff like that. I mean, unfortunately, it is kind of more like a lost art, and I don't understand that type of mindset, like the managerial role. Like I'd pay even just to come to see you manage. I'd pay to go see anybody do their thing because everybody has such an integral role. Like that's what makes, like we mentioned earlier, the presentation of it. And I think that's what's wonderful about the art form. It truly is. And I don't apologize for rambling there, but that it's such a lost art, man.
I agree with you completely. And since I am a rambler, you can't apologize to me about rambling. That's against the rules.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I won't apologize for my rambling. Thank you. But no, I mean, I look at it from a stance like this, and I'll even mention going back to WoW for a second. Like, I think, like we mentioned, the matches that you've had, like I could watch you against like Akita Rush. I can watch you against Faith the Lioness, now Nikita Lyons in the WWE. I could watch you just against really anyone, and like it tells that story. And also the fact that I'm going to say right now, Fury Mesmeriah also was a great package to that tenure that made up the Psycho Sisters. You know what I mean? And I mean, let's put into the forefront as well. One of my favorite songs that go with Psycho, besides the movie, you put on even A Puddle of Mud. Maybe I'm the one who's a schizophrenic psycho. Yeah, like stuff like that. You can really take it in many different ways. And I really enjoyed that presentation. I got to say, the matches were badass too, man. You kicked the crap out of them. I could see you do a boot, high athletic stuff, what have you. The power game was on point.
It was funny. So I actually got to do the mocap for a WWE game, and I did the mocap for Shotzi. And one of Shotzi's moves is a cannonball, but it's kind of like an inverted cannonball in the corner. And so I had to learn the move to do it for mocap. And after I did it, every girl there was like, Sarah, you should just do that move. And I was like, you know, I kind of think, well, I don't want to steal it from Shotzi, but then I'm watching Shotzi stuff and I'm like, well, technically I'm not stealing anything from Shotzi. She's in the highest level that she can get. So it's not like I'm taking anything away from her by doing a similar move. Are we saying someone's stealing the lariat? You know, so okay, I started doing it in WoW, and that was probably the most athletic move I did. And if it seemed strange that I was suddenly doing an athletic move, that's why. That's where it came from doing the mocap. So shout out to Shotzi for inspiring me.
Shout out to the ballsy badass who's now back on the independent scene, which I cannot wait to see her do her thing. I mean, the cannonball is, all right, I like how you brought this up. All right, we're going to make analogies here. It's like with the super kick, like when Shawn Michaels hit the Sweet Chin Music, like you knew it was donezo. But now everybody does the super kick, and it's just a transitional move. When Jake Roberts did the DDT, you knew it was donezo. Now it's a transitional move. Like you can watch Shotzi do a cannonball. You can watch the likes of Piper Niven, aka Piper Niven, what we got on SmackDown and what we get to see with her professional wrestling career. You could see Kevin Owens do it. Like the cannonball, everybody has their different variation of it. I mean, even if you look at the Swanton Bomb, Jeff Hardy got that move from the great Sasuke, the old school Swan Dive, and then you see Sean O'Hare, God rest his soul, doing the Swanton Bomb, and then there's Mr. Kennedy doing a Swanton Bomb. There's Kevin Owens doing a Swanton Bomb. Like almost everybody's doing a Swanton Bomb. Like we all take influence from everybody.
Right. And what I try to do to be respectful is this something where like it would in any way harm this other wrestler or shit on them, as we like to say? Would this shit on this move? And sometimes I think I care about that more than other people do, to be perfectly honest. But like if you tell me my finish is a suplex or something, and I'm in the same show as you, and I just use a suplex. You know what I mean? Like I like to be more thoughtful than that. Okay, this is a really big move later on in the card. Someone's going to do this as a huge finish. I need to be very thoughtful about how I use this. And so that's kind of how I wish everybody would be about wrestling moves. But on the indie scene, to be perfectly honest, most people aren't. So it's kind of like a lost art form. But yeah, at the time I was like, not taking anything away from Shotzi by cannonballing and it being like the big strong move that I do. And yeah, I'm also excited to see. Unfortunately, all the people that go from WWE, it's like sad on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's also an exciting time because we're going to get this influx of really great talent who are going to bring what they learned at the highest level back down and hopefully make everybody else even better in that process. Like coming down the mountain with the information, and now everyone's going to benefit from that.
My science teacher, Mr. Marino, in ninth grade, shout out to Mr. Marino, my living environment teacher, always talked about the pearls of wisdom, the POW, if you will. And I think that's so important to what we get to see, learning and respect and the decorum. And I like how you put that too as well. I'm not going to name the wrestling promotion, but it's like you start out the first matchup on a doggone indie card and somebody's already doing like a tope over the ropes. And then it's like, it's not special if you keep doing doggone topes throughout the card. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come up with your own stuff that's unique, that makes your match stand out. It's like I can watch, and I'll take it back to when I went to my first Ring of Honor show. It's like I could watch Homicide and Colt Cabana do their thing. Was it dives galore like the other matches? No, but they added that little element to it because they had a personal rivalry, and it heightened up everything that they did, and everything made sense. Like this is the same card that featured the likes of Jay Lethal going against Low-Ki, or you could see Nigel McGuinness in action. You could see Bryan Danielson against James Gibson, Jamie Noble. Everything told its story, and everything had its purpose, and it wasn't the same. But also at the end of the day, too, it amplified what we got to see within their match, and that makes everything special.
I agree. It's all, like having respect for each other, but also learning from each other. It's like iron sharpens iron is what it is. So in the LFC, I'm bringing more of a wrestling background than most of the other girls I'm wrestling are from an MMA background. Like I'm lucky when I get to wrestle another wrestler in there, and so a lot of times that's kind of the difference that I'm bringing to my matches is. On the one hand, I have this advantage of I know a whole different move set that they don't know, but on the other hand, I am now at a disadvantage because they have a whole move set that I don't really know that much about. I've been doing some more mat style training, some more MMA style training to prep for LFC, but it's definitely been like a learning curve for me. And once I get off that learning curve, I think I'm going to be the champion. I'm not going to lie, because that's like really the only thing that's been holding me back so far.
I think Sarah Wolfe, LFC champion, does have a nice ring to it. Or Bella Wolfe. Are we going the BW route?
Yeah, that's right. I'm Bella now.
All right. Because that theme song's a banger, man. You got me hooked right there.
I should sing it. I should sing it whenever I come out. They should give me a microphone.
Yes. But no, I think that definitely does have a nice ring to it. And your career thus far in the LFC is definitely going to continue to up on the rise, man. And I got to put this out here. If y'all want to see some badass lingerie, this one over here with like the cheetah type vibes and just everything, you pulled off the style and profile and aspect, man. I got to say the lingerie was on point with everything that you did those two events, man. That was really badass. I got to put that to the forefront. I dug it.
And there I was pulling out all the stops, looking sexy as hell against a naked person.
Goes back to the nudity, man. Like, I hear you. I get it. I totally get it. Now it's like back in the days as well. I mean, how do you let's put us into the forefront as well. It's like, all right, like back in the day, Tori Wilson and Dawn Marie. And I mean, I loved the bikini contest as a kid. And again, we've evolved so much from that. But it's like Tori Wilson just all of a sudden, man, it's just like she's naked. And here's like Dawn Marie over here. Like, what the hell, man? I thought this was a bikini contest. Like, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? So you could be like the contrary of the Tori Wilson to the Dawn Marie type.
Right. Or I'm the Luna Vachon being like, no.
Okay. No. All right. See, she's taking it back 25 years. All right, folks. If y'all have not seen
Luna and Jackie were my favorite wrestlers growing up.
So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. So you're bringing back Ruthless Aggression Era and Attitude Era for me. So it's so funny that you bring this up because I remember the Luna Vachon, one of the integral parts of that Royal Rumble 2000, where she's like, no, I'm not taking it off. And here's another one. A lot of people, she's kind of like the unsung hero. How great Luna Vachon was when she was with the Black Hearts with Gangrel and what we got to see during her WWF run. Such a great wrestler, such impact with the promos. I could definitely see the influence as well with the Razor character, with the Luna Vachon, the buck wildness, the intensity. I like that.
For sure. Luna, Chyna, and Jacqueline were just like my everything when I was growing up. And I, to be honest, thought I couldn't be a wrestler because I did think you either had to look like that or you had to be a hottie like Sable. And since I was neither of those things, I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I can't wrestle. I'm just kind of a normal looking person. And it wasn't until I was working in the video game industry and I met Xavier Woods and we started chit-chatting and he said, blah, 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 wrestling school. And I said, what did you just say? And so that's what started my whole path. But it all started with those three women. Luna has always been a personal hero to me, knowing the demons she fought, knowing how she was treated. Like, could you imagine Luna, Chyna, and Jacqueline if they came up in this era of wrestling?
Oh my God.
They would be dominating. And because all they had to go through, the fact that they got to where they got at a time where Luna was basically told, you need to put over Sable, who literally does not know how to wrestle. every single night. You need to put over this really hot woman who actually physically has no idea how to wrestle. And that's who you need to have your matches with. And Luna did her job and was able to do that. Or when you go see when China wrestled Dean Malenko back in the like in Japan or somewhere, I don't even remember where they were. Or when Jacqueline got to wrestle for the Intercontinental Championship, like they showed us how great they could have been if they weren't having to fight through everything they are mired down with. And so often I just think about like, what would they be doing like in this generation where they could actually be great? I don't know. That's something I think about all the time.
All right. See, now you're bringing out the core memories in here. I can't stop. I like where you brought this because, I mean, and I'll be honest with you, Sable, everybody considers her an influence, which I respect. But when she got into the ring, man, I'll put it into the bluntest of forms, it was drizzling shits. Like, yes, she had the Sable bomb and the iconic moment where she Sable bombed Mark Marrow, but not as a wrestling standpoint, drizzling shits. And you have someone like Luna Vachon who helped work with her. Really, again, one of the unsung heroes, definitely deserves to be in the Doggone Hall of Fame. The fact that Jacqueline's in the Hall of Fame, rightfully so, Miss Texas, with, I mean, like you mentioned, the intergender style. She was working the men. She beat Chavo Guerrero in 2004 for that Cruiserweight Championship. Like, she really rose to the ranks as becoming even not just a manager and a valet, but her wrestling skill was on point. She was tough. She helped train the kids on Tough Enough. So, I mean, another integral role, another unsung hero was Jacqueline, man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and with Sable, it's so funny. I've done a few podcasts with guys before where they'll say, "Who was your favorite wrestler growing up?" And one time someone said, "You know what's weird? Every woman wrestler I've asked that, no one has ever said Sable, which I find crazy because Sable was the top female wrestler of that time, and blah blah blah." And I've had to point out, like, for men, for men, for women, Sable really had nothing for us. She wasn't even as exciting as the divas could be. I mean, like the divas was not great wrestling, but at the very least they were great characters. They had a little bit for us. But if you ask most women wrestlers about our influences, we're gonna say your Litas. We're gonna say that the people who actually got out there and did moonsaults and did cool wrestling moves or looked like they could actually like do something. Versus Sable, she was the hit she was because of how she looked. And that's okay, because what did we say before? There's a place in wrestling for everybody.
Yep. And I mean, with like your Litas and your Trish Stratus, like Lita, for some, like, I can't believe it's already been 25 years since her debut. My goodness. But like, this is a woman who went to Mexico. She worked with the likes of who we saw on her screen, S.A. Rios, the Mr. Aguila, the Papi Chulo, however you want to classify him. But that dude had such a wealth of knowledge. She trained her butt off. I mean, coming from ECW, being Miss Congeniality, another manager, managing Danny Doring and Amish Roadkill, to what we saw with her with the Hardy Boys, and just her expansion out to become a women's champion, the rivalry with Trish, which people still talk about to this day. So, I mean, it's stuff like that where it's something that's different. It's like, okay, this is cool. This woman's during a Hurricane Ronda to like Test, to Albert, and all these men. And you mentioned Dean Malenko, like her match with Dean Malenko that led to Matt Hardy and that kiss on Monday Night Raw back in 2001. There's so many influential stuff that she did, and she's another one, man, that really broke down barriers for a lot of women.
And you know, it's funny, she wasn't one of my favorite wrestlers because her thong was visible. So circling right back to my issue with Bella, as a little girl, I was like, I don't like this chick. Her thong is out. That's so disgusting. Hey, ew. And now here I am. Here I am having to wrestle these bethonged. I'm just too classy, is the truth. But you know what? You got to do what you got to do. Gotta do what you got to do.
Very much so. But I mean,
no one bear hugs me with their bare body.
Their bare body. Okay. I mean, look at it like this. I mean, all right, we'll put this into the forefront. Look at Cisco. That thong, the thong, thong, thong. Still one of the most revolutionary songs. It's 25 years.
I just went and saw him for my birthday in January, actually, and he's still amazing.
Can I just say right now, the trend on Instagram, we've seen it. Like the fact that these parents are punishing with their kids. You gave me 100 Drew Hills. Tell me what you want. And doing that dance is hilarious. And I got to admit, I have seen Cisco as well. Like, give me some Got to Get It. Give me some Thong Song. Give me some Incomplete. I bet he won't go where I go. Yep. I'm right there with you. Unleash the Dragon is a hitting classic, man.
Yeah, no, I love all their songs, and they did Enchantment Passing Through as well. It was an awesome concert. I wish it'd been longer, but yeah. That's the nice thing about living in Vegas is, you know, a lot of your favorite childhood whatevers will make their way through. Music, wrestling, you name it. You could probably find them here somewhere.
Absolutely. I mean, Cisco also did Snow Dogs with Cuba Gooding Jr. So, I mean, that also was a thing in 2002 for those that remember that Disney movie where he's like his assistant. He's like in the dentist office. Yeah, no, I know Snow
Nope.
Dogs.
My
Nope.
brain clearly deleted that information. Was like, this is irrelevant. Let's just put that in the trash.
Nope. Just nope. Yeah. It happened, but I gotta say, not one of the finest Disney movies. But yeah, it is what it is. But I mean, I look at it like this: one of the finest moments you definitely can see with Lingerie Fighting Championships is the many great wrestlers and many great talents and fighters, much like the Sarah the Rebel Wolf with her rebel yell, like the to quote Billy Idol, "Doing your damn thing." So, Miss Sarah Wolf, I will say this before we close this out: you have dropped some knowledge, and you've dropped, dare I say, some awesomeness within this conversation, and you're more than welcome back for round 2. It's always a blast talking to you, and I really am glad that we got to do this. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Remember to support the LFC so that I can become the champion, Bella Wolf. Thank you.
All righty now. So before we close this out, we mentioned the pearls of wisdom. Is there any advice for you, being the strong woman that you are and everything that goes into it? What advice would you give to the youngins, the ladies specifically, who are coming up now? What advice would you give them to drop some knowledge on them?
I would say study tape and watch what people before you did. So many people seem to think that they have all the answers and they're the person who invented this. You didn't invent the wheel. There's people who've done it before and have done it better. So watch them, study them, and get better, and force yourself to be more creative by seeing, well, what could I do that's different? How can I take the lessons from the older times and transform it into something new and different that will actually get me the win? That would be my advice.
Beautifully and eloquently said. Definitely adhere to those words. I like your style. And as well, before we close this out, if y'all want to check this one out, I got to put over the front. You're a great follow on Instagram, number 1, but number 2, you look fantastic, man. You've really just gone into your acumen with everything from the internal and external side. You really do look great. I've seen a lot of the progress within your photos. You're killing it, man.
Thank you. Most of that has been diet, not exercise. I've been exercising this whole time. The big change has been cutting out rice and potatoes and the bread, which are all 3 my favorite things. So I like to be acknowledged for the sacrifice that I'm making for the sake of trying to look jacked. It's very difficult. But yes, and I have a Patreon. If you all have been enjoying my Instagram, or you go there and you check it out and you like what you see, please come to my Patreon and help support, because I keep having to look up new recipes that don't have rice or potatoes or bread.
I gotta say the discipline is there, but those are some of my favorite things as well. But I like your acumen and always staying positively proactive. It definitely does show within your being. So the links will be in the description for the Instagram and Patreon for Miss Sarah the Rebel Wolf. And if you want to check us out, y'all, it's the 4th of July. It's LFC 43's Independence Day. Then we're making our way to Cardiff, Wales. It's an international takeover, and we about to kill it with some USA versus UK action. And I hope you do enjoy everything that this fine product brings us. And I got to ask you, man, we mentioned at the beginning of the show, Sarah the Rebel Wolf, Gypsy Mac, first time ever, LFC. Do you have any final words for the Mac attack, Gypsy Mac?
Bring everything you have. Just bring it all, because the last time you didn't bring it all because you didn't have it all. Well, now you've been working on it and you have more, and I want to see it. I need you to bring everything you have against me, because I won't accept anything else.
Ooh. I am excited for that fight, and beautifully and eloquently said. Gypsy Mac, Sarah Wolf goes down, LFC 44. Y'all better check it out, because if you don't, you're missing out, because who doesn't want to see Sarah the Rebel Wolf and Gypsy Mac? I know I do, and I know all you LFC fans should. So with that being said, this concludes another edition of the LFC podcast. Much like my mindset, much like the name of this podcast, beauty, strength, and dominance are 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Sarah the Rebel Wolf, Bella Wolf, if you will, I include those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.